Alright, it is July 29th, 2007. We are here at the Jack Hagen farm in Britton, South Dakota. And gonna do some World War II interviewing. Jack Hagen was born on March 22nd, 1926. And I am the husband of his granddaughter, Ariel. Alright, what branch of service did you serve in?
Infantry.
What was your rank and where did you serve?
Well, by the time I came home, I was a T5, they called it, which is a trash corporal.
And where did you serve then?
Well, they sent us into the boats, you see, when I was 18 in March. I was drafted in April and went to Snelling, Fort Snelling, Minnesota. And from there they sent us to Texas. And we was taking jungle training, supposed to go to the Pacific. But instead the both started, so they turned us around completely. They just shoved us off. And they said, you guys got 11 days to get to Camp Shanks, New York. Figure it out the best way you can.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
No, I was drafted.
Where were you living at the time?
Over where Jay is there on the old Hagen homestead.
Okay.
My grandpa homesteaded that, you know.
Okay. In Britain? Or Britain area?
It's just right across.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a mile south of here.
Did you pick the service branch you were in then, or were you
No.
thrown in then? Okay.
Had nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
You go where we send you.
Yeah. Do you recall your first days in service?
Well, they mostly was just getting us oriented. We was in a big long barracks building and there was bunk cots, one down each aisle, and that's where we slept.
Okay. And where was that at then?
In Camp Roberts, California.
Okay.
The nearest town, well, it's up in the panhandle of Texas, but Mineral Springs was the closest town, but nobody got to go to that. I guess I was there once.
Okay.
I saw Hopalong Cassidy down there, made him come walking down the street with them silver-handled 6 guns.
Oh, yeah? Huh. Can you tell me about your the boot camp training and experiences?
We were taking jungle training, supposed to go to the Pacific. And when the boat started, they turned us around completely. But I remember the bayonet teacher, he was supposed to teach us how to use a bayonet. And he says, I want you to stick me now, if you can. Try to stick me. Dumb yeo. If he'd have been had any sense, he'd have been dead, you know, if they'd have met up with any guys that had been in combat.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember your instructors then?
Well, I'm kind of at a blank right now as they're all their names, but
As far as how they were or how they were?
I was a machine gun man, you know. We had the heavy-duty 30 caliber water-cooled, but we didn't carry any water in combat. We carried spare barrels. That's a lot easier, and big mitts, leather mitts.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot easier to screw a barrel on and off than it was to carry water. We was carrying enough anyway. When we crossed the Rhine, we went almost 100 miles in 2 days. Each one of us carrying about 100 pounds.
So where exactly did you arrive when you were shipped out?
When
you
we
left the
landed
States, yeah.
There's a little town on the French and Belgian border by the name of Givet, Givet. And we never stopped in England. We was supposed to leave New York on the Queen Mary, but it was loaded. And so we had to wait till it pulled out and the Wakefield pulled in. And they put 12,000 of us on there. And we ate twice a day. It took 3 hours each time through the chow line. We ate down in the hold, and you better hang on to your tray, because if you didn't, the whole works would come sliding down.
So you remember what it was like then, when you arrived?
Didn't you arrive in a snowstorm in the?
No, we never stopped in England. We docked at Liverpool, and we got off the ship onto a train, went over to Southampton, got off the train onto a LST and out in the channel. And everything is tore up at Le Havre, so they made a circle and headed northwest. And we landed at Givet, right behind the I think it was the 605 paratroopers.
So what was your job or assignment when you showed up?
Heavy weapons. I was a heavy duty machine gunner.
This question asked, did you see combat? Obviously. Did you ever have any encounters with the enemy? And what happened?
Well, yeah, we left a few of them lay. I remember one guy was in the Hurtgen Forest. That'll tell you in that book too, the Hurtgen Forest. We're advancing, and we come to an opening about 300 yards square, right out in the forest. And they had that interlaced with machine gun fire. And we started across there, and we got out about, 10, 20 rods. And everybody dug their spade out and started digging, because they had machine gun bullets spraying every direction. And here's one yahoo sitting on his knees about, 10 rods from me maybe. And I said, dig! He went nuts, you know. I said, dig! And then all he could do is jabber. And sure enough, pretty soon down he went. And nailed him. But it's amazing how fast you could dig with that little spade when you had to.
Well, they're only about that long, aren't they?
Yeah, I got one off the shop, or 2 of them.
What was
And
the...
so
go ahead.
they called for the tanks, and the tank commander refused to come up. So Captain Bogardus, he went back and chewed button. Boy, pretty soon here come the tanks. They got 2 of them knocked out and burned up too. The crew and both of them never got out.
Any more from that? That incident?
That's enough of that.
Okay.
We got counterattacked by the 3 big Tiger tanks, them 60 tons the Germans had. And then they came over a ridge, and there was poplar trees there, probably 30, 40 feet high. And they come walking them down like they were ragweeds or something, you know. And I thought, uh-oh, this don't look good. But there's a great big oak tree. Oh man, it must have been 10 feet around or more. And one guy was handling a machine gun inside that one tank. He sure had me figured out. He plowed a furrow right in front of my nose. And I backed around behind that oak. And Sergeant Angelosi, who was one of our platoon boys, he was an Italian, but he was a heck of a nice guy. And he somewhere got a hold of a bazooka, and he got around that point blank range, and he knocked the track off of one of them big Tigers. Just stopped him right there.
So that sounds like a heroic act, but did you see any other, or what was the most heroic act you saw
Oh, I don't know as I was so heroic, but that's what that Bronze Star's for there. My buddy, Rick Farley from Dupree, South Dakota, he was a big guy, 250-pound football player. And he turned out to be one of my best buddies. We went overseas together, got in the same outfit together. And we walked into the town of Datlin, a little mining town there, without firing a shot. Walked in there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And being as it was a industrial town, they had slag piles they'd piled up, working with steel, I suppose. Some of them were pretty high, 30, 40 feet, and they had machine guns set up on them. But we didn't know that. And they sent us down to guard the Autobahn there. They were supposed to go across, and we was kitty corner, we were supposed to set up across from them. But they never found a German. We thought they was all pulled back from it. All of a sudden they opens up with them 45 millimeter anti-aircraft guns they had on top of the flagpole, point blank range. And the first round got 4 of them right across from us. And Farley was one of them. And I got drafted with him in Snelling. We went to Texas, got the same outfit, trained together. One of my best buddies. And he got it the second day we went into action. And he wasn't dead, but he was just pockmarked with shrapnel from head to foot. And 4 of us picked him up, one on each corner, and carried him across the concrete road into a railroad depot cellar. And that's why I got the Bronze Star.
Okay. Good deal.
Now, was he the one, Dad, that kept telling that he was never coming home?
Yeah, and he had a premonition or something, because on the boat going over, he kept telling me, I ain't coming home, I'll never make her. I said, I just ain't gonna make her, he said. And I kept telling him, why you can't talk that way. And sure enough, of course, I never seen him again, after we pulled him over in the cellar. And I didn't know that he had died until I saw it in some Stars and Stripes newspaper came out. And he died about 15 days later.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, I thought that's when you said it. I was telling you that on the way home.
Yeah, he kept telling me, he said, I ain't coming home, I'll never make her. And he didn't.
Well, so were there many casualties in your unit?
Well, when they pulled us offline, the day Roosevelt died, I and my squad leader, John Dempsey, was the only 2 guys left in our section, machine gunners.
And how many were in a section then?
Well, there'd be 2 squads of 7 each.
So can you tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences?
Well, I never forgot, that wasn't long before that. Bensky from Minnesota, southern Minnesota, he's 60 miles from the highway border. And he was a good buddy of mine too. And he got it when we got under an artillery barrage, and I and my squad leader were the only guys that stood up. Got all of them, there was 14 laying there. And Bensky, they shot the legs out from under him. And he came home, and he was in a wheelchair. And they got enough scrap iron in his legs, they finally got him up and got him walking.
Wow.
In the VA hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
He he'd been up here, how many times? Twice?
Yeah, he was up here at least twice.
Came up and visited me, and we stayed with him down there, I know.
He's passed away now, right?
Yeah, and his wife too. She died too here just lately.
So were you awarded any medals or citations? Let me see. Grab them.
I wrote there what they stand for.
Well, you can just tell him now,
You
Dad.
want? I'll just
Just hold him up
stand
in,
to 'em and
yeah, just hold him up in front of the
hold 'em
camera
up in
there.
front and just
Kinda-
kind of yeah.
Just kind of explain what each one is, maybe.
Well, the top one is a combat infantry badge,
Okay, hold it.
That's fine right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
and I don't care how much lettuce they got on their chest, if they ain't got this up on top, this bar.
Then they- That's the one that
They
tells
haven't,
you've been in
they
action,
haven't
right?
been where it was tough.
Okay.
And this is the European Theater of Operations medal with 2 combat bronze stars on it. This is the Bronze Star, which is given for valor.
And that's the one you got from getting Farley out, right?
Yeah, this is the Good Conduct Medal. My name, by the way, is engraved on both the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. And this is the Army of Occupation Medal after the war. And what the heck is this other one here?
I can look and see there, Dad, if you want. You got it written down, probably.
Yeah, I got it wrote somewhere there. Victory Medal, I
Yeah,
think.
Victory Medal and Ribbon would be
Yeah.
that one down in the right-hand
Yeah.
corner there.
And this is the Army of Occupation after the war.
Yep, Army of Occupation Medal and Ribbon.
So you kind of explained how you got them. Do you want to kind of explain how you got the Purple Heart then?
And that's all in here too, so.
Okay.
We've got that, you can take it right from there if you want, Dad.
Well, you want me to read this?
No, you don't have to read it.
You can just
tell him.
Tell what incident got you the Purple Heart.
Here, I can take that if you want. You know, you can just tell it better than we can do that.
Well, we was the 1st Division up to the Rhine, up north, with Montgomery, General Montgomery. He was a British general. We was under him. A lot of guys didn't like him very good. But that's where we wound up. And there was a church right across from us. And I and one of my buddies was sitting in a foxhole on my 19th birthday.
Just hold that up in front of the camera once in front of it.
General Eisenhower, the day this come out, Ike himself come out with this. No man shall be required to see combat till he reaches his 19th birthday. And I said, boy, that's gonna do me a lot of good. I was 19 that day.
Oh yeah.
And we'd been in combat for a long time, went through the Bulge and the 1st Division up to the Rhine, and the 30th and the 70th Division pulled up behind us. And they took us across the Rhine in they called them alligators. They were tracked amphibious vehicles. And we gave them direct orders, head and fire, and we didn't go make the first crossing. It was the 1st Division, our first outfit up there. But the 30th and the 70th pushed through our lines and made the first crossing, and we gave them overhead fire. Put her on free traverse and burned up 2 barrels and just sprayed the other bank. We didn't carry water. They were water cooled, but we didn't carry water because we was carrying enough anyway. We carried spare barrels and a big pair of heavy leather mitts. You could screw on a barrel and change barrels a lot quicker than you could fool around with that water.
Mm-hmm.
But did we ever get the Purple Heart thing on?
No, then how?
How'd you get the shrapnel in your hand, Dad?
Oh, artillery.
No.
I was sitting in the foxhole, and it just, this hand and this arm was just pockmarked here with shrapnel. And they took me back to battalion aid station, and the doc worked about 2 or 3 hours over me picking pieces out of there. And that's why things are so crooked here.
Oh yeah.
They put it on a swing and
But it come out pretty good.
put send you
I
back
can
to
use
front.
the hand. There was a hole right through this finger. From here, you can see it here.
Yep.
There was a hole right through there. You could have stuck a pencil through there.
In what battle did you get that in then, Dad?
Well, that would be when we were sitting by the Rhine before we went across.
That was when you were strafing the other side with your machine gun fire then?
Well, yeah, we gave them overhead fire when the 30th and the 70th went across first.
But you got
They
hit,
followed us right up.
you got hit sometime in that time frame there?
Yeah, before that. Before
That's
they
right.
even pulled up behind us.
Oh,
How long were you out then, or how?
2 hours.
After-
it
About
says.
2 hours. He worked, and then
And you went right back in?
Yep. They took me right back to my squad. They asked me where I wanted to go. And they would have sent me back to the hospital, I suppose, but I said, "Oh, go back to the outfit." So they put my arm in the sling, and I come back with it all wrapped up in the sling, and they was really surprised to see me. They didn't think they'd see me again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I think it goes on to say you actually threw your sling away because it was hurting your mobility.
Yeah, I think it tells about that in here. If you want to read it, or
Yeah, I could probably read through it later here.
What about the snow banks? Unexpendable because they froze to death, they didn't have enough clothes. That's what he was talking about
Okay.
anyway one day.
Oh, God.
yeah, that was
I'll
bad.
read this later.
They sent us into, we went in at WWII, it's on the French-Belgian border in the Bones. And they sent us up there with nothing to eat and no clothes. All we had on was combat boots on our feet. And the K rations, which you mounted to the hard chocolate candy bar, about inch thick and about 3 inches long maybe. A packet of bouillon powder you were supposed to be able to make soup out of. Well, we didn't dare to have a fire because they'd shot your tail off if you had a fire. And I never seen anything so accurate as that, as they were. In the black of night, if you ever opened that machine gun up, you better move fast, because that first round would be right there. Never could figure out they could do that. Of course, they knew the land, I suppose, and
Knew the land and trajectory, and they probably had elevation, and you know, like our GPS does today, they probably had a. They were
Some
probably
dumb-
doing it with pencil, but they had somebody
even
that
if
was.
some dumb yay who lighted the
Pretty sure.
cigarettes, you know, that first round from that 88, they deadly 88s they had millimeter. And it would just be right there, right now.
Tracers.
Shrapnel going everywhere.
Now, these next few questions are kind of about just your life over there, but how did you stay in touch with your family?
I went 6 weeks without mail once. Finally, I got a stack about 4 inches thick.
And they got to you, huh? So did you write your family then
Yeah,
quite often?
yeah, I wrote to 'em.
What was the food like?
Well, they sent us up there with nothing to eat, like I was telling you, with them K rations. And then nothing to wear. All we had on our was combat boots. I never had them off for 2 months. And the light field jacket. The only thing they did do, they put a liner in our helmet so we didn't freeze our ears. But I never had my combat boots off for better than 2 months.
So did you have plenty of supplies then?
Well, we carried, every man in the squad carried 250 rounds of ammunition.
Mhm.
7-man squad, and the leader is 8.
Okay. Was there anything you did for good luck
you carried Bibles and you always wanted anybody that was a church person wasn't there half the time.
Well, if a pastor ever came up, no matter what denomination he was, everybody went,
Mm-hmm.
whether he was Catholic or what he was.
So how did you and your other friends or how did you entertain yourselves?
They was it doing the entertaining.
I mean, did you play cards and all that?
I remember one morning we was still in the Ertgun Forest. That was a pretty tough battleground, and we was advancing through the trees. They were pretty thick right there, and all of a sudden, Carl DeRico was his name. He was in the other squad from where I was, but he was a good buddy too. And he hit the ground. This German stepped out from behind a tree with a Panzerfaust, aimed right at us, bazooka. Says, "Somebody shoot that son of a bitch!" And they said about 3 rifles answered his plea in a hurry.
But Kelly's other question was, when you guys did play quite a few cards, because I remember you telling about playing, I don't know if that was probably after the war.
When we came back to France.
Yeah.
See, we was the first division back out of combat, scheduled for redeployment to the Pacific. But instead they set us up as cadre, and we stayed there and boxed up all the equipment for 2 other divisions. 86 and Black Hawk was the first division came through. We created up all their equipment and sent them on the way. They was headed to the Pacific and we stay there, which was a good thing. That's how I got to play ball, because they had a ball team. I was down there fooling around, helping them guys out and trying to do it. And Gonzales was our manager. He was an Italian or something. We talked kind of funny. But, most of them were all pros. And I'd been fooling around throwing batting practice. I was the only amateur that made the team. I made it in right field. And then Gonzales, he comes to me one night, and one of our pitchers was sick, and one of them went on furlough. We had Lefty Parks with the Indianapolis Indians, and we had a guy by the name of, he was a coach not too long ago yet. He was still at the Yankees, if he ain't died. He was the pitcher. Anyway, Gonzales comes to me one night, slaps the ball in my hand, "You're starting tonight." And sure enough, started against the Murray Dixon of the St. Louis Cards.
So how long after the war did all of that actually happen then? I mean, we
was the first division back out of combat.
Mhm. So that's when
They set us up at Reims, France. That's where the surrender was later wrote out too. But
So, as far as playing baseball and all that, what else did you do when on leave, or did you ever get to go on leave?
I never forgot when Ada went AWOL and rode the mail plane to La Havre and back.
To where?
To La Havre,
Okay.
about 800 miles.
it was a cargo plane, wasn't it?
Yeah, a big C-130. And that's when they first came back there, and they didn't know what to do with us. You know, they hard to find a job for everybody when there's that many guys in the division, 10,000 men. So we're about 8 of us, all buddies. We was down on the pier looking around. We knew that mail plane went to La Havre every day for a load of mail. "Let's ride the plane," somebody said. So we all jumped on there. The way we went. They never even knew he was gone. Come back, we got away with it.
So what'd you do when you went over there? Or you just went for a ride, or
Just went for a ride and back.
and back? Okay. Do you recall any humorous or unusual events?
So that was one.
That was one right there.
Yeah, and then they finally found me a job as a driver. I was driving all over Paris, all the donuts around. And in the morning we had to walk by 2 stockades that had Hitler's elite troops in. And of course, my mother came from Holland, and a lot of Dutch and German words are the same. So I understood them pretty good. And they was his elite crack troops too. I could hear, I had to walk by there every morning, 2 stockades full of them. And when they found out that I could understand them, they just went absolutely nuts. Started jabbering 100 miles an hour. I told them, "Du måste sprechen Sie langsam. Ik spreek een beetje, but niet zoveel. But verstaan alles." And boy, then you guys, this is mud. Any day now, there's going to be so many Panzer troops come over that little raise right there. And boy, your ass is mud. That's all there's to it.
That's what they were telling you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they were telling you.
Yeah, a lot of Dutch words you see are the same as German.
Oh.
You know, and Grandma, she was always talking Dutch. She come from Holland when she was 9 years old.
What were some of the pranks that you or others would pull?
Oh,
Anything you
once in a
can
while
recall?
when I was on training in Texas, they'd short sheet a man or some damn thing, you know, just for the heck of it. But for the most part, it was pretty serious, I guess.
You got the best of them lieutenants playing cards that one night.
Oh,
That's
I and
funny.
this buddy of mine, we got it in for the drivers down at the stockade there, because we went down there one night, we got together and got in a poker game. And this guy, buddy of mine, he worked in a gaming house, gambling house, in civilian life, and he could stack a deck or deal you any cards you wanted, and you could not catch him at. So we kind of had it in for them guards down there, MPs down there anyway. So we went down one night and we cleaned $4,000 off it. He'd either deal me a hand or he'd deal a hand. We had it all figured out.
Yeah.
Did you keep a personal diary when you were over there?
No,
No,
didn't have time.
didn't have time. I suppose.
Well, you
After
didn't
the
really
war
have
was
time.
over.
You didn't really have time to sleep, even, did you? I mean, you slept
Oh,
standing.
no.
You used to talk about sleeping standing up.
You learn to stand, take cat naps on your feet. We had 6 kids that came up, replacements, one night, and they crawled in these fart sacks, we called them. And in the morning, they was all dead. German patrol came through in the night and just bayoneted them. They was in them damn bags. That's what I mean. You learn to sleep, stand cat naps on your feet.
So did you bring home any souvenirs or artifacts home?
You know, we came into Copenhagen, Denmark, when we left. We left from there and we came home. And I had 2 of the most elegant trench knives that the Germans had off of German officers. And I had 4 pistols, 2 Lugers. And they took all that stuff away from us and threw it in this one bear store here. And I know for a fact that the officers went over there and took what they wanted.
So you didn't get anything home, huh?
I got home with 1 pistol. It was a Czech pistol. Not very good one. We did fix it up. Brian shot it a couple times. He got got some ammunition for 32 caliber.
So how did you get that then? Or was that your personal
No,
pistol?
they were laying there after the guy was dead, so
Mm-hmm. These next questions will be like after the service or after your service. Do you recall the day your service ended?
when the heck did I get home? September? I don't know.
I guess
don't
not
remember.
particularly the day,
Probably
but
said in July, cause then him and Hank went over to a party or something.
you just
No,
recall
we
the
went-
the.
I came home on the train from Minneapolis and Hank come and got me. I know he picked me up at Andover. But driving the old 44.
So what did you do in the days and the weeks afterwards, after you got home?
Went right back to doing what I'd ever done.
Farming and haying and ranching.
Farming?
Yep.
So did you work or did you go back to school? Or you were done with?
No,
Or did you go into?
no.
Right.
They never give me what you call it either, because I only had 6 months of out of school.
Well, I never got a diploma, you mean?
No,
Yeah.
I never got a diploma.
But you came back home and went right to work on the family farm, didn't you?
Yep.
Yep, on the Hagen farm.
So did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Yeah, but there wasn't very many left. My
Our
squad
friends.
leader was John Dempsey was his name, and we both came through and made it. The only one in my squad.
So did you continue that relationship and talk once in a while?
No, Penske is the only one I ever kept up with. He was up here twice, and we stayed with them a couple times, I and the wife.
Mhm.
He was a pretty nice guy.
Where was he from then?
Hey, Minnesota,
Minnesota.
60 miles from the highway border.
Okay.
Went down to the,
You know, they're both dead now. She died just lately,
Yeah,
too.
that's what you're.
And one day I got a phone call. I couldn't figure out who was on the phone. And here was their daughter.
Oh,
And she got talking about shooting them wild turkeys out of the tree.
oh, yeah.
You know, we had a couple of them for Thanksgiving too, she said.
Yeah. See, we used to do that with those little pump-up BB guns I was talking.
Oh yeah. Let's see if this turkey. So did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, they're sure in going down the wrong track, no.
No.
I would hate to be in such a war. They're not fighting it to win. And I maintain if you're going to war, that you better be figuring on winning it.
Mm-hmm. So how did your service and experiences affect your life?
Well, I don't know. I saw a lot of country, of course, but it wasn't very pretty, most of it.
Right.
You always thought that the Army got in the way of your baseball career. Maybe. You don't know that for sure.
Well, I got to play 3 months with
Semi-pro.
pro,
So maybe
semi.
that's more than you thought you were gonna get.
Well, I came home and it wasn't long and I met my wife, and when I met her, I was done and gone, boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he made his own ball team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had our own team too.
So what do you think young people who never experienced war or never will experience war should know about war?
Well, that's a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's fine. Is there anything you want to add that we haven't really covered?
No, I know
think
it's
we'll maybe just go through his book or something next, and because that's all the questions I really have
yeah,
for you.
you
So
should read that combat diary then.
okay.
That'll show you the right.
Oh, this here, yep.
tell you
I'll go
right
through
where
that.
it's at, I think.
Okay.
You wanna leave it run, or what do you wanna
So
do?
they sent us back to barracks. It only took 2 days to get the Mary out and Wakefield in. That was a big one too. So there was 8 of us, all buddies that we was over the fence twice into New York City, 2 nights in a row. The second night, most of them got drunk in a barrel of holes. So,
Did you have to report to Reveille at
yeah, we
5:30?
were supposed to be out to Camp Shanks to go into morning revelry at 5 o'clock in the morning, and here we're down on the Great White Way, and it's already past midnight. Hired a taxi cab finally to take us out to Camp Shanks. I think they charged us $29. Of course, one of the boys puked in the back of the cab, so probably hit us a little harder.
Huh?
Well,
But I got to see all that stuff then that I wouldn't have seen otherwise in New York, see. Down on the Great White Way, and we was it was up to the polo grounds. The Giants played baseball there at that time,
well, then I remember some other stories you used to tell, like when your first combat duty, and you came over and there was the friendly fire that had killed so many of your enemies, like your
We was
first day
going
there.
up to the front. And that's the first dead I saw was our own. There was 6 of them and was in a mortar squad, and there was a helmet laying over here with a head in it, and there was a boot over here with a foot in it, and that was my initiation to battle.
Mm-hmm.
Done by friendly fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know where all you wanna go with this, and then also, I remember you telling about, you remember when you watched the movie, can't remember if it's Battle of the Bulge, where they lined the prisoners up. Didn't you come upon that scene
We
also?
came up on that. That was a massacre. It tells about it in this book here, probably in that one you got too.
Mm-hmm.
It was they captured 175 Americans, and they marched them through the snow for a couple of days, and finally they came to this side hill, and the wind had swept kind of clear of snow, and they lined them all up down so far in the side hill there, and they set the machine gun up and they mowed 175 of them down. Malmedy massacre.
Cause didn't you guys come upon that 2 or 3
Yep.
days later or something?
We came up on that after they'd froze, and here was an arm sticking out of the snow, and over there was a leg sticking out of the snow. After that, for a while, our division got known as the Bloody Butchers, because we didn't take no prisoners for a while, when we seen what happened there.
Mm-hmm. I know in that book, when you gone through that book, there was an incident you talked about when you guys shot that German plane down.
Oh, when you
Yeah.
did your tracers.
Tell us about that, maybe.
They still had some air. We was the first division up to the Rhine, and they still had some airplanes in the air, Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs, and I don't know what they.
And you guys were told not to shoot at them, right?
Yeah, and they told us we had orders not to shoot at them. You can't hurt them with a .30 caliber,
My doctor,
they said. And well, that was before that.
oh,
We came across an abandoned ammunition dump. They just left it, and it was all kinds of ammunition there. And they came, our our weapons, 30 caliber machine gun, they were 1 in 5 tracer. And when we found that ammo dump and got all that stuff out of there, we doctored every belt we had. We had 3 out of every 5 with a tracer. And we gave them overhead fire. You can see that in that book there when they shot. And they went across the line, we gave them overhead fire. Put her on 3 traverse and just sprayed the other bank. Burned out 2 barrels.
Mm-hmm.
I was also thinking that, you know, when Kelly was talking about artifacts that you brought home, you got your pistol, but you also got a lot of paper money and some coins, and
Oh yeah.
I don't know what all's in there, but I can't.
Mhm.
You got several different denominations of different money.
I got coins from Penner every country over there, but they're getting so tarnished. I should have had somebody shine them up for me, I guess.
And I can't remember, you have francs in there, and don't you?
Yeah, I got what the army used, or everybody used, German marks. You know, I got a lot of them there. I got a stack of them about yay thick. And when Dan was going to high school, he took them in and wanted to know if they was worth anything. They sure are, he told him. Went in the bank, 53 bucks a piece he could get for them. I still got them.
Is it possible to see them?
Yep.
You want me to get them, Dad? I can probably write it.
They're in.
So what's that then?
The South, Civil War,
Oh, really?
Confederate. And each one of these here, Gordon, Dan took these in the bank, and they told him they was worth $53 a piece. German marks, printed for the military. We got quite a few of them here.
A whole stack of them here. How long ago was that when he checked on how much they were worth?
He was in high school.
Wow,
Oh, down now, down.
might be worth more now. You never know.
75, you
This
think
is
so.
French money, francs.
But some of them was worth 50 bucks.
Yeah, that's the ones I remember, it's the francs.
These are German too, but they're different denomination. Quite a few 20s here. Swansig. 21, Schwein, 23. That's 20.
Mm-hmm.
This is French.
Yeah, that's the same as this one here. There. And what's that?
That's a German.
Winsing, or what? How do you say that?
Funzig.
Winsing 50 mark? You want to see a picture of that one,
Yeah.
Kelly?
I don't know. Must be a real old there.
That was my phone.
Oh, his phone. I couldn't figure that out.
No, he dropped a picture from me.
This is 10 marks here. That's German. I had coins and stuff from every country over there. Some of them was taped up and old. Where?
Then hand them to me or something so I can go on to the next one.
It's
huh?
Hitler's castle, he said.
This is a broken bridge. I don't know where it's at, but it's been blown up. Holland.
Blown up bridge, Holland, with a question mark there.
Is that one ours? Looks like it.
Yeah, looks like a maybe
Didn't look like
glider.
anybody got out either.
Yeah.
Okay, leave it lay there for just a second, and then he can take a
Yeah,
picture
that's
of it
good.
first, and then.
These are the Alps. We got over far enough to see the Alps
Yeah.
in Austria. And here's where we got back to France and saw this NFO show, you know. Francis Langford and Bob Hope. But this is a German woman here trying to gather some straw or something. Here's in the Alps.
You gotta slow down just a little, Dad.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
You
good.
got him?
These are combat pictures here. You see the one guy's crossing the street, another guy standing back, or two.
Okay.
This is more combat pictures.
There you
Aachen, that was a hot spot.
So that was in where?
That's Germany. Fewer, be few, it means many. I can't read it. That's a war picture.
Fewer. Well, he'll get it here. Oh, there's.
And that's blown up bridges, I think. Eiffel Tower. Here's Bob Hope and Francis Langford at the USO show. This is a buddy of mine from Texas. He's a wild character.
go. Who is this then? Do you know? Remember his name?
His name. Took a picture of the graveyard there. This is an action picture in combat here. So is that. Some oddities there. Looks to me like a 3/4 ton got blown up there and stopped anyway, shot him. Following the tank here. This is where we went in.
And that was where?
And Givet is a little town on the French-Belgian border by the name of Givet.
And that's the
The
picture.
605 parachute battalion went through the same place we did there. This is some more of that prison camp,
Which prison camp was this?
Bergen-Belsen. They were dying at the rate of 300 a day when we came in there, nothing but skeleton. Here's a Jeep that caught it, I think, or a 3/4 ton. He looks like that guy didn't make it either. Here's where we went in, that Givet. 605 parachute battalion went in the same place. Here's going ashore over the LST.
What's that stand for, Dad? Your land surface machine, or what did you call it? LS what?
Yeah, what the heck did I say? What did they call them? LST, that's,
LST, land surface.
it was a boat. Here's
Terrain.
a couple guys that got her in a Jeep. Now, I don't know really where that's at, but, or this one either. Here I know is the edge of the Alps, we got into that.
Well, wherever this was at, it's pretty well blown up.
Yeah. This is the prison. Now this town, I should remember that, and it'll come to me. They really blowed that up. There wasn't much left. Here's some more of them corpses out of the prison camp. How they handled them. The incinerator, they was blowing them up as fast as they, burning them up as fast as they
Take them.
could.
Go ahead.
Here they're carting away some. Dortmund. That's the name of that town. Shot all the hell. We walked into one town at 6 o'clock in the morning without firing a shot, and it was full of snipers. We thought the town was empty, and they had snipers in all high places.
Jeez, just starved them right to death, didn't they? Now, what plane was that?
That's an ME-262. Looks like it got shot down.
Messerschmitt,
Yep.
Focke-Wulf, we shot
One
down.
of the first combat jets that they developed. And the incinerator at the prison camp. Another prison
Oh,
camp.
that's the little Bible you carried with you right there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
decoration a German soldier got. But I didn't think he needed it anymore.
Well,
Iron Cross.
We didn't get that picture of that money there, did we?
How come that was
Oh,
made
here's a
with
year
the
on the
rest?
back of here, Kelly, and the swastika.
oh wow.
Yeah, that's the highest decoration that they give any German.
How'd you end up with that?
Well,
Took
he's
it off
laying
of-
there dead, so I didn't think that he needed it anymore. So I
Souvenir.
just typed it.
This, wait a minute, what is this?
Your checkbook.
Yeah, but this is not, this is later.
Oh,
What does it say on it? Francs?
Yeah, it's a Frank's, like, and then it's got a 50, but it's penciled in there.
French?
Belgas, or whatever that's called?
Oh, the mold. I think Grandma sent me these here. That was
an address
Okay,
there.
that's the end of that
an
one.
address from. Let's see, we were,
Got a picture of horse on there.
Mm-hmm.
here's when we had a lot of snow. Oh, wet, you know. Playing for the Cincinnati Reds for 11 years. And he's dead now. And we played with him. He was 4F in the draft, and I never could understand why.
Let's see if I can get that.
That's mostly just junk in here. Infantry man, crossed rifles. Yeah,
What are these two for then, Dad? Just what do the bars stand for?
Each one stands for 6 months overseas. But I only had 3 of them on my uniform.
So
I
where's
had
this
extra,
one?
They're extra ones.
Oh. And the top one is for,
This is for good conduct.
oh, so that just matches
Yeah,
up with what you had
yeah.
on.
Yeah, I had these before I got the big medals.
Mm-hmm.
There's his uniform.
You can see what division he was in if you go over to his shoulder. If you turn it to the side a little bit, Dad, it's got the 75th on it there.
75th. Oh. So how did you have 2 of these then?
Yeah.
These 2
No, this is, yeah, that's an extra one that was on the, this is before I got those bigger ones. They're supposed to be the same thing. See, the battle stars are on here. ATO and the bronze star and everything is here,
Oh,
except the purple heart, I guess.
and then these stripes here are your
That's
Six.
Yeah, that's
18
where he had
months.
those extra ones.
18 months overseas.
okay.
That's what
6
they were.
months for each one.
Okay.
Trash corporal.
Yep. Actually it says technician 5th grade.
What's this top one then? This one here?
Oh, that's just, that isn't,
Is that Valor?
no, it's, I don't know what that stood for, really.
Oh, wasn't that part of your medic thing there?
Problem. That's for the old big down here, I guess, but no. That's the only one I got home with. And Brian, he actually had it working, he shot a few times away, and I guess I shot a few times away.
I'll get more video.
No, she's pretty content.